My sister Kelsey went missing in April. She was 19, college sophomore. She had a thing for solo hiking. Always had. She'd camp for days at a time out in the desert, never posting about it until she was back. She hated the idea of being tracked or followed, said the whole point was to be completely alone. She'd gotten really into primitive survival too, making fire with bow drills, identifying edible plants, boiling water in carved out rocks, that kind of thing. It made my parents crazy, but she always came back. Until she didn't. She'd told them she was going to Petrified Forest National Park. But after she missed 2 calls in a row, my mom got spooked and reported her missing. Rangers found her car in a remote area of the park, past the public trails. Her backpack was still in the trunk. So was her phone. That was the first red flag. Kelsey never left without her pack. It was the first thing she'd always grab. Food, knife, flint, water filter, tarp, flashlight, med kit. It was all in there. She used to say if she had her pack and a decent knife, she could survive weeks. Search and rescue spent 9 days combing the park. Dogs, drones, helicopters, nothing. Not even a boot print. After that, things got strange. A week after the search was called off, I started seeing her. At first, I thought I was losing it. I'd be walking to class and catch a glimpse of her down the hall. Same dark hair, same olive green jacket she used to wear. Once I even swore I saw her standing behind a dumpster across from my dorm. Just standing there, not moving, not blinking. But when I ran over, she was gone. I didn't tell anyone. I figured I was grieving, and my brain was trying to make sense of it. Then, 2 weeks later, she came home. My mom called me from the hospital. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. All I got was, "They found her? She's alive. She walked into a ranger station." I drove 6 hours that night to get there. When I saw her, I knew immediately that it wasn't her. Not really. She looked like Kelsey. Same brown eyes, same face. But it was all wrong. Her skin looked dry and loose, like it didn't fit right. Her lips were cracked, like something inside her was drying out. Her hair was falling out in clumps. She didn't hug anyone, didn't cry, didn't say much at all. The doctors said she was in shock, severe dehydration, minor sunburn, malnourished, but nothing life-threatening. They asked where she'd been. She just said, lost. Wouldn't elaborate. I sat with her for an hour that first night, just the 2 of us in the hospital room. She stared at the window the whole time. No TV, no questions, no jokes, nothing like her. I asked what happened, where she slept, what she ate, how she got back. She finally looked at me and said, "I wasn't alone out there." I asked her who she was with. She said, "It watched me. Then it talked like me. Then it moved like me. Then it was me." Her voice cracked on that last sentence. She sounded embarrassed or scared or both. I didn't know what to say. That night, she screamed in her sleep, not like a normal nightmare scream. These were raw, gasping howls, like she was being torn open from the inside. Nurses had to hold her down. She clawed at her own face until they sedated her. She kept screaming one word, skin. She was released 5 days later. They said she needed rest, monitoring, therapy. But no one could explain how she survived out there for so long without water or shelter, or why she hadn't lost more weight, or why her eyes were bloodshot like she hadn't blinked in days. She moved back in with my parents, but they barely recognized her anymore. She just sat in her room, wouldn't eat meat, started asking weird questions like, how many layers of skin do people have? And can you live without eyelids? One night, my mom caught her in the garage sharpening a rock against the concrete floor. She said it was for carving. After that, I started staying over more, watching her. Then I found the journal. She'd hidden it under a loose floorboard in her room, handmade, bound with strips of cloth, pages torn from other notebooks, all written in pencil and charcoal. I'm gonna write some of it here, word for word. No edits. Day 2. I walked off the trail around noon. I'm trying to follow this dry riverbed down into the canyon. Found tracks, but not human. Big, almost hoof-like, but split in the middle. They don't look natural. They stop at a rock and don't continue. Like whatever it was just disappeared. Day 4, I haven't heard birds all day. No bugs either. No wind. It's so quiet I can hear my own heartbeat. I slept in a crevice last night and woke up with dirt in my mouth. Don't remember how that happened. Day 5, something's watching me. I saw it again today. It looks like me, but stretched out, like it's trying to fit inside a suit that's too small. Its knees bend backward. It doesn't blink. It crouches when it thinks I'm not looking. Day 6, it talks now. It repeats things I say when I'm alone. I tried not to speak, but it still got my voice. Said my name last night. Day 7, I saw it peel. Just for a second. The skin opened down the middle like a coat. Something wet and gray slid out and looked at me. It was wearing my face. Then it pulled the skin back on and smiled. The last entry said, open quote, I understand now. Skin is a language. It wears what it eats. It wears what it learns. The more it knows, the more perfect the costume becomes. I think it almost has me right. That's where it ended. I confronted her the next day. Took her on a drive, just the two of us. Said we should get some air. She didn't say a word the entire ride. We parked near this old bridge over a dry wash. Middle of nowhere. I turned and asked, what are you? She smiled. Not a normal smile. A slow one, like she had to think about which muscles to move. Her lips cracked open. Her gums bled. Then she said, in my exact voice, you always were the smart one, Jamie. My name, my voice, down to the cadence, the little upward lilt I didn't know I even had. I opened the door and ran. I didn't look back until I got to the car. She hadn't moved, just stood there, twisting her head in slow, jerky circles like she was adjusting it. Her skin was shifting. That's the best word for it, like a sack of wet cloth sagging on a meat hook. I drove straight to the sheriff's station, told them everything, the journal, the way she acted, the voice. They didn't do anything. Said she'd been through trauma. Said I was projecting. I showed them the journal. When they opened it, every page was blank. No pencil, no charcoal, just torn notebook pages. They asked me if I was on any medications. It's been 3 weeks since then. She still lives with my parents. She doesn't eat. She chews. Whatever's in her mouth makes wet clicking sounds like cartilage snapping. Last night, my mom called me in tears. Said she found Kelsey kneeling in the yard at 3 a.m., completely naked, digging a hole with her hands. She was putting raw meat into it. When my mom tried to pull her inside, she whispered, it gets hungry. It needs to feed. This morning, my parents didn't answer the phone. I drove over, knocked, rang, yelled. No answer. I looked through the window. She was sitting at the kitchen table, alone, smiling. Her skin was darker. Her nose looked more like my dad's now. Her hair was short, like my mom's. On the floor behind her were 2 piles of clothing. I think one of them was wearing my mom's robe. There was blood under her fingernails. I haven't gone inside yet. I'm in my car writing this. It's dark out now. My headlights are off. She just walked to the front window and looked at me, tilted her head, grinned. She looks just like me now. I was 17 when my uncle disappeared in the Kaibab forest. He wasn't a drifter or some flaky survivalist. His name was Thomas. 52 years old, former Army, worked logistics at a trucking company, didn't even like camping unless it was in a trailer with a stocked fridge and working air conditioning. He wasn't the kind of guy who went missing. He was the guy who texted you if you were 10 minutes late for dinner. But he was also stubborn. And when he retired, he told my dad he was going to reconnect with the old world. Said he wanted to be out in the wild with nothing but a fire and the stars. We laughed. Thought it was a phase. He went out to Kaibab for a weekend hike and didn't come back. Rangers found his tent 3 days later, untouched, zipper open, boots still inside. Camp stove was cold, half a protein bar left unwrapped on a folding table. No blood, no signs of a struggle, no tracks leading away. Just gone. We assumed the worst. Maybe he wandered off trail. Maybe he fell and got stuck somewhere. They searched with dogs and drones. Nothing. After 2 weeks, they closed the case as a likely animal attack or accidental death. No body ever turned up. That was 2 years ago. And then last month, he came back. It started with a voicemail. My dad called me around 9:30 p.m., completely shaken. Said someone had left a message claiming to be Thomas. I told him it was probably a scam, maybe someone spoofing his number, but then he played it for me. The voice was raspy, weak, but it was him. Same tone, same little pauses he always made mid-sentence, like he was chewing his words. Alan, I'm out. I got turned around, but I'm okay now. I'm headed to your place. See you soon, brother. We stared at the phone for what felt like an hour. 30 minutes later, he showed up, walked right up the front steps like nothing had happened. Same denim jacket, same Timberland boots, just older, dirtier. He looked thinner, his skin dry and flaking around his mouth, lips chapped until they bled. His eyes were sunken. That's the only way I can put it. Like he hadn't slept for a year. My mom started crying. My dad stood frozen. I stepped forward, ready to hug him, and stopped. Something felt wrong. He smiled when he saw me, but it didn't reach his eyes. His lips curled up too slow, like he had to remember how to do it. And then he said, "You've gotten tall, Danny." I hadn't gone by Danny in years. The first night was quiet. We made him eat. He barely touched the food, just chewed slowly, like he was unfamiliar with the texture. Said it was too salty, then said it was too soft, then said it didn't taste like it used to. We asked where he'd been. He said he didn't remember, just that he got lost. That something kept pulling him deeper into the trees. That sometimes he'd hear voices calling him in the night, this whispering things he couldn't understand. He said he ate bark, bugs, mushrooms. Said he lived inside a hollowed tree trunk for a couple months. We reminded him he'd been gone 2 years. He just blinked. Things got worse the next few days. He started waking up at 2 or 3 a.m., walking through the house barefoot, just pacing. No lights on. He'd stop in front of doorways and just listen. Ears tilted like an animal. He didn't talk. He didn't blink. One night, I caught him crouched in the hallway, sniffing the floorboards. His knees were bent backward, almost too far, like his joints didn't know which direction they were supposed to bend. I didn't sleep that night. We finally convinced him to see a doctor. He refused blood work, said he didn't like needles and smell. That phrasing stuck with me. Not the smell of needles, just needles and smell. Like he was naming random human things he didn't quite understand. He passed basic cognitive tests. Reflexes slow, but responsive. They wrote it off as PTSD, possibly fugue state with prolonged starvation, referred him to a neurologist and sent him home. That night, my mom found him in the backyard, barefoot in the mud, eating raw chicken from the trash. When she asked him what he was doing, he looked at her like she was the one behaving strangely. Then he said, it wasn't dead yet. The final straw was the video. I'd set up a cheap security camera in the hallway after I found him crouching outside my bedroom. I didn't tell anyone about it, just wanted proof I wasn't going crazy. That night, I downloaded the footage and scrubbed through it. At 3:11 a.m., my uncle walked into frame. But he wasn't walking. He was crawling. Fast, his elbows bent inwards, legs kicking at weird angles. He moved like a spider with a broken back, jerky, lurching movements that made my stomach turn. He stopped outside my door, rose to his feet, bones cracking like joints popping into unfamiliar sockets. Then he pressed his ear to the wood and whispered something. I turned the volume up and played it again. He was saying my name, over and over. Danny, 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 Danny. Then he whispered, let me wear you. I deleted the footage, packed a bag, drove 4 hours to Flagstaff and crashed with a friend. I told my parents everything. They didn't believe me. 2 days later, my mom called me from a hotel. She sounded like she was trying not to cry. Said she and my dad had left the house. That Thomas had changed. He'd started digging holes in the backyard. Big ones, 6 feet deep, just digging and smiling. When they asked why, he said, for after. That night, she caught him standing at the foot of their bed, perfectly still, staring at them for over 10 minutes without blinking. She said his skin was peeling off his arms, long, wet strips, and underneath, it was gray. Not blood, not flesh, just gray. They called the police. He was gone when they got there, just gone. That was a week ago. And now I'm writing this from my friend's basement because last night someone knocked on the door. It was a soft knock, rhythmic, deliberate. My friend went to check, looked out the peephole. He said no one was there. Then we heard it again. This time at the back door, then the garage, then my window. Always that same knock, soft, slow, in a pattern. Like it knew the layout of the house, like it was checking every way in. Around 3:30 a.m., it stopped. But just before dawn, we heard my uncle's voice, clear as day from the front yard. Danny, let me in. Only it wasn't just him. There were others. I couldn't see them, but I could hear the voices. Too many, all whispering the same thing, like a chant. Let me in, let me in, let me in. Some of the voices sounded familiar. My dad's, my mom's, even my friend's voice, who was right next to me. Like it was trying out different costumes. Like it didn't know which one would work best. We didn't sleep. We just sat there with knives and a flashlight until the sun came up. When we went outside, there were prints in the dirt, bare feet, long toes, deep heel impressions. But they weren't leading to the house, they were leading away. And in the grass, we found something. A patch of skin, about the size of a dinner plate. Human, pale, hair still on it, folded, like clothing, still warm. I don't know if it was ever really my uncle that came back, or if that thing just wore him like a jacket for a while. Maybe it watched him for weeks. Learned his voice, learned his laugh, learned how he walked, how he smiled, how he used to tousle my hair and call me Danny. I don't tell this story out loud anymore. Not since that night. Not since the last time I heard that awful smile stretch across someone's face who wasn't supposed to be smiling. I'm writing it now because there are patterns in this thing. There are warnings. And I know, if you've seen it once, it never truly lets you go. So maybe this is my way of scratching the rot out of my head before it eats through the rest of me. This happened 5 years ago in the backwoods of northern New Mexico. I was 23, fresh out of a shitty breakup, desperate for isolation. I convinced my buddy Eric to take a weekend off work and go camping with me. We didn't go to a site with picnic tables and public toilets. We drove deep into the Carson National Forest, past the last ranger station, down a dirt access road with no markers. Eric's cousin had dropped a pin there on an old hiking forum, claimed it was remote, quiet, and spiritually clean. Whatever that meant. We didn't bring guns, just knives and a flare. It wasn't supposed to be that kind of trip. The first day was fine. Hiked in about 3 miles. Set up camp near a dry wash. Big trees, total silence except the wind. Felt right. That kind of quiet makes your skin breathe. Eric cooked chili over the fire and passed around cheap whiskey. He told some story about a hitchhiker with a cleft lip he picked up outside Taos who offered him elk jerky and spoke in a thick, guttural voice. I'm telling you, he said, that guy had hands like dog paws. I think I ate a person that day. I laughed. It was the last time I would, in any honest way. At around 3:40 a.m., I woke up to what I thought was my name. Soft, mumbled, coming from just outside the tent. Matt. I thought maybe Eric was drunk and needed to piss. I unzipped the flap, half asleep, and looked around. My flashlight caught only trees and the soft embers of the dying fire. Eric's tent was zipped shut. Eric? I called out. Silence. Need something? No response. I clicked the flashlight off and waited. Then I heard it again, closer. Matt, my name, but it was off. The tone wasn't right, too low, too stretched out, like someone trying to remember how to shape the word with their mouth. I froze. My tongue dried up. Then I heard it breathing. Not huffing or panting, wet breathing. The kind you hear when someone's trying not to choke on their own saliva. I zipped the tent shut and sat there in the dark, knife in my hand, heartbeat crawling into my ears. The breathing stayed for another minute, then silence. Next morning, I didn't tell Eric. Didn't want to look paranoid. We packed gear and hiked out farther, about a mile down toward a canyon where there were old rock formations. Petroglyphs, bones. We found a deer carcass just off the trail, split open from neck to groin, bones exposed, meat sucked dry, no flies, no smell. The skin had been pulled back, still attached to the hooves like someone had peeled it off in one long tug and draped it over a bush. Its head was facing upward, like it had died mid-scream. Eric laughed, nervously. Mountain lion. Probably. I didn't say a word. That night, we kept the fire going late. Eric passed out around 1. I stayed up, knife in my lap, staring into the trees. At 2:17 a.m., I heard something walking through the brush. Not sprinting, not stumbling, walking. 2 feet, slow, deliberate. I held my breath. It circled the campsite. I didn't see it, but I felt it. It knew I was awake. It stopped right behind Eric's tent. Then it said my name again. Not a whisper this time. Not a mistake. It said it perfectly. Matt. I didn't move. My knife felt like a toy. It stayed quiet for about 10 seconds. Then I heard the zipper on Eric's tent begin to open. But Eric was still inside. Because I looked over and saw him in the tent, his shadow upright, just starting to move like he was waking up. And that meant the thing trying to unzip it wasn't him. I jumped up and screamed. The sound that came from the other side of his tent, I can't describe it. It was like laughter choking on blood. Eric screamed, and I ran over just as he spilled out of the tent, knife drawn. Something was at the zipper, he shouted, breathless. It didn't have eyes, Matt. It didn't have a fucking face. We packed our shit in the dark, left half our food, didn't care. We hiked back with our knives out, no flashlights, just the moon. At one point, Eric turned and whispered, "It's following us." And I knew. I could feel it too. We made it to the truck by dawn, but something was wrong. The air smelled like meat, raw, wet meat left on a sidewalk in July. We got in the truck and locked the doors. That's when I noticed the footprints around the tires. Bare feet, long toes, deep imprints, like it had waited there all night. We didn't talk on the drive home. Eric dropped me off and didn't stay for coffee like usual. He didn't text me that night. In fact, I never heard from Eric again. 2 days later, I got a call from his sister. She found him in his bathtub, dead. No wounds, no blood, no sign of struggle, but his face was missing. Not mutilated, gone, peeled off, like someone had carefully cut around the edges and lifted it away. She said the tub was full of cold water and teeth. Not just his, too many. Some were baby teeth. I didn't go to the funeral. I started dreaming of Eric outside my house. He'd knock once, then twice. Then the window would rattle. In the dream, I'd open the blinds and he'd be standing there, naked, face draped in something loose and sagging, lips moving too slow, like they weren't attached properly. He'd say, "It's not as bad as it looks. Come see." And he'd smile, too wide. His lips would split down the middle and peel back, revealing nothing. No tongue, no teeth, just empty, wet meat twitching like it was trying to remember what a person looked like from the inside out. 3 weeks passed. I tried to move on, told myself it was grief, trauma, delusion, until I went to see Eric's sister to give her some old photos of him from our trips. I knocked on the door. She answered, smiling, but it wasn't her smile. Her lips didn't move right, too slow again, and her eyes didn't move at all, just stared forward, unblinking. She said, "Matt, come inside. I made soup." I asked how she was holding up. She said, "Skin stretches easier when it's wet. Did you know that?" Then her smile tore open down both sides and kept going. I ran. I didn't stop until I hit the gas station on 5 and 50. I sat in the bathroom for almost 30 minutes and threw up until I was shaking. I don't know who lives in her house now. I don't know if she's even alive. I called the police once, told them I thought something was wearing her. They didn't take it seriously. And now, I'm afraid if I go back, she'll be wearing me next. I moved states, changed my name. That was 5 years ago. But lately, I've been hearing things again. Last night, I heard a knock on the back door. Slow, measured, then a voice. Calm, friendly. "It's Eric. Let me in, man." I live alone. I looked through the peephole, no one. But when I turned off the porch light, there was a shadow standing on the grass. Long arms, head tilted, waiting. I know it wants to wear me, and I know it can't until I open the door, until I say yes, but I think it's learning how to ask better. It used to just say my name. Now it sounds like my mother, my girlfriend, my dead brother, and I'm afraid that one day it'll knock and sound like me. And when that happens, when I answer, don't believe anything it says. You'll know it's not me when it smiles.